Hello and welcome to the USA Volleyball Show, the official podcast of USA Volleyball. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Munson, joined by my co-host, Sevrin Lavenstein and Clarence Hughes. Sevrin, Clarence, I'm excited to have the full podcast or the podcast team in full strength today. We got to catch up. Where have you guys been? What events have you been going to? Let's start with Sevrin. Where have you been at?
Yeah, we've been hanging out without you, Stephen. We were like, gosh, we're gonna finally get away. Clarence and I were like, let's go to Sunshine and leave Stephen back in Colorado where it's freezing cold. So the Florida temperatures. Yeah, no, I got to hang out.
I missed that email. I missed that group text.
Got to hang out with Clarence last week at Sunshine. It was a blast. Clarence and the event staff always do an amazing job whenever I'm able to go to events. I don't know how people are able to organize that, but our events staff just does an amazing job. And we were there, and I thought it went pretty well. And I didn't see or hear of any wrong things or any bad parts of the event whatsoever. So it went seamlessly as usual. So shout out to Clarence and events there. But it was good to see you in person, Clarence, last week.
And you are not supposed to hear about those things too. So if they happen, you'll never know. The world will never know. But shout out to Greta Rux as their first total full event, being a tournament director there. And I think she did a killer job from start to finish. And shout out to everyone who helped make the event a success. Sunshine, probably one of the better tournaments over the past years that we've had in Orlando. No indoor rain delays. No delayed parking going into the parking structures. Everything went smooth and according to schedule for the most part. So, thumbs up.
Nice. Well done.
Stephen, one thing to add too is, so the event itself, fantastic. One of my favorite things is being able to hang out with the event staff because, in California, they're in Colorado, and obviously all over at different events. But you learn great new things about your coworkers each time you hang out with them. I personally have not seen the movie Wicked, and I've heard it's amazing. People love it. I'm not a huge musical guy, but I will certainly watch them. I haven't seen it, but now I feel like I have, because I don't know if you know this, Clarence. I mean, there are people who maybe do karaoke, sing-alongs, what have you.
I was about to ask, was there a karaoke night involved here?
Let me set the scene. So we're all in the event has concluded. We're all going out for dinner afterwards, and the final of part of the whole event. And so we're all piled into this van, and the soundtrack to Wicked is on full blast when I get into the van. Let me tell you, not only does Clarence know every single word, not only is he hitting every single note, he's got the moves down. Everything was perfect. Usually when your buddy is good at karaoke or what have you, they know all the words, but the notes aren't great, or the notes are good, but they stumble across little things. I think Clarence might be the best at whatever you want to call it, karaoke, sing-alongs, what have you, I've ever seen. It was sensational. It's the only word I can use for it. It was just a divine performance.
I really think you're overselling that performance. One, we probably just all stir crazy from being in Orlando since like February 19th or both before that. But also, we just love musicals. I'm honestly a big musical person. It was Wicked soundtrack. We sang a lot of The Greatest Showman too. Greta, the big musical person as well too. So
I was going to say the duet. The duet too. I mean, we can't forget that he and Greta kind of came in with a harmony. It was amazing. And also there was, on the way back, I think it switched to Pitch Perfect. So range, incredible.
Mm-hmm. Gotta have a good riff off in there,
This doesn't surprise me at all. Clarence really is the full package. And Clarence, was it Chicago where we were singing Disney on the train?
Yes. Oh my gosh. What a memory.
That was fun.
Train on the way to Wrigley Field.
Crowded train. It was just our little USAB group, and then the whole train.
Strangers jumped in. The whole train just in unison. Yeah,
our whole train car was just getting in. Wow. That doesn't surprise me. So yeah, glad you got to experience some street karaoke. Maybe we should call it.
It was fantastic. I think that, maybe not right now with the current state of his voice, but eventually we need to get The Voice or X Factor, if that's still going. I don't know. Clearly I don't watch those shows, but whatever is currently going on, that needs to happen with Clarence being on those shows.
I think the next time all three of us are in person recording this. I think we need to do a little segment there. Yes. We'll let
Yes.
yeah.
Might be Denver opens. We're all together potentially.
Adult nationals. That'll be a good one. But I'm just
Have
about
to make it happen.
Adults is great.
Might have to make that. Sevrin, when you first said that you learned a lot about your coworkers who aren't there in California, I was expecting you to like pull out a whole notepad or sheet, just going through all the staff. Just
I don't take notes, Stephen. I keep that between all of us. I just figured the world needed to know about Clarence's amazing talents. And again, I can't forget Greta too. She again with those duets, they hit the notes, man. I mean, I'll sing Rocket Man by Elton John, but I certainly won't hit those notes. I think Clarence and Greta would have a chance.
If there's a stage, whether it's a car or an actual stage, Clarence will be there. If it's karaoke night, you might have to sign him up for him, but he'll be on that stage for sure.
Little insider there. My first time ever working a nationals what was this, back in 2021? Vegas? Right. Yeah, Vegas in 21. Steven signed myself and my boss, Christy, to sing Shallow in front of everyone. When I mean everyone, this was like at a casino where we were just trying to get some food at the end of the night, and boom, we sang Shallow. And then from there, domino effect.
Rest is history. Yeah. I can't take full credit for that. Our former coworker in the events department, Megan Ward, was also part of that. So Megan, if you're listening to that, great job.
I have to tell her to jump in and listen to this next episode. Megan Don Ward. I'll never forget you calling her that.
We're right about that, old man.
All right, where do we go from here?
That was
Sunshine program also happened, right? I'm talking about Sunshine.
Yeah, open program happened. Sevrin, you were there too. You're just globetrotting right now, and you've got a full event schedule ahead of you. For the rest of the year too. So.
I can attest to the fact that I just sent an email about completely mixing up one of the events I'm going to, because it's just a bunch have just been added to my calendar. I was like, yeah, no, that one's like 7 months away. We're on a completely different one. But yeah, no, it's been fun. I always like traveling. It's one of the great parts that we get to do here. And I was out in Colorado Springs for a little bit of open program, but also filming some great content for our education department. Shout out Lauren Walker. She's tremendous and really good at just keeping all that organized and having a great schedule for us. Got to talk to Eric, his new staff for the women's national team, and get some interviews with a lot of our great staff there as well. All of that will be in some form or fashion in our education side of things, and I think eventually making its way to website in some forms. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, it was great to work with them, and also to see you guys for a little bit. Got to hang out with you, Stephen, and work together as well, which is always fun. Got to see Curtis again for a little bit. So yeah, usually I'm pretty removed in California from the team physically. But for the last couple of weeks, it's been fun to reconnect with all parts of the Colorado Springs family.
Yeah, it was awesome having you out there. Not just for the work side of it, but just, being all together, like you mentioned. It's a ton of fun. And the open program is, like we've talked about a lot, Clarence Volleypalooza. Thanks, Karch, for that word there. But yeah, we got to catch up with Eric Sullivan. This was his kind of kickoff event as the new head coach for the women's national team. He did a great job. My favorite pieces of content that I did over the weekend was his very first introduction with the athletes. There was a missing phone or a phone that was just left on the whiteboard there, and he picked it up and was like, "First order of business here. Whose phone is this?" And just so happened that the athlete, the girl standing right next to me, was the one whose phone it was. So I was in the perfect position to capture that content. So, and Eric was great. We did check-ins every day with him, just kind of following along his journey as this being his first event introduction as the U.S. women's national team head coach, and had a lot of great insight on just his perspective of the events and being there, and just very appreciative of his staff that was there as well. The coaches, the evaluators, the statisticians that were there to help run the event. So that was awesome. Just hanging out with Eric and all the coaches there and reconnecting with some old friends that I hadn't seen in a while. So that was fun. What else has been going on? Well, we just had the boys spring training series as well, NTDP boys spring training series. Myself, Lara, and we got Curtis back out for that as well. That was a lot of fun. It's awesome. You just never really see like that level in that age group of boys in the same gym. And you could just see it on their faces too, that they're just so excited to be around just kind of the best of the best in that age group, and play volleyball with each other. And a lot of them have, played against each other across the net, and it's just a great energy, a great atmosphere in that environment, in that gym. And the staff there was incredible as well. There's a whole long list of names, but Reed Pretty was one of them as well, and got to catch up with him and chat with him. His son was actually part of that spring training series too, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, I think that's it for me. Yeah. Anything else for you guys?
I'll just say one more quickly. I had the chance to attend a PVF match while I was out in Orlando.
Yeah.
And that experience was tremendous. Huge thank you to the Atlanta Vibe and Orlando Valkyries staff, who were so great in getting me situated and being able to connect with some of our athletes. Just wanted to say, like, it was a great atmosphere. I think they had a couple club teams in there, filled, the majority of that lower section there. And one of the things that really stuck out to me is they were knowledgeable volleyball fans. I think sometimes when we are in new places, it's a little like tennis, where people are a little quiet during the serve and then, we'll eventually pick it up. That was not this atmosphere at all. And it was such a great match that it went 5 sets. Some of the rallies were crazy, like back and forth and really long rallies, and just really high level volleyball, which again, as we've talked about a lot, but just to be able to see that in the U.S. And I think I forget which one of the players it was, my apologies, but earlier in the match they did an in-match interview where again it was just expressing gratitude that this kind of thing could happen in the United States. And that whole setup was great. So just wanted to shout that out and acknowledge that the product there was fantastic, and I was really glad to be able to go.
Yeah, I love seeing the piece of content that you're able to do while you're on the ground there too. But yeah, glad you got the opportunity to go to that match, and what a match to go to as well.
Speaking of matches to go to, total one-off, not relating to volleyball, I had the privilege of going to the Kia Center, watching an Orlando Magic home game against the Warriors, and just watched Steph drop 56 in person, and that was amazing. Wow. So that's what I'm leaving you guys with with that one too. But
those jerseys were clean too.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Big fan of this.
Yeah, you guys were in Orlando. Like there's a lot going on there. Anything else you did off site of the event?
I mean, the group went to, Disney World, one of those parks, or Universal, one of those things like they always do. And I decided not to do that. And I was like, you know what? I've been around people through 3 years along the lines and all that stuff too. So decided not to do that. But other than that, did go to that Orlando Magic game. Saw Steph out 56. Other than that, nothing else but volleyball.
That's a good bucket list item there. Yeah, for sure. Before, I guess, continuing, like Sevrin was talking about PVF, continuing that conversation here. If you haven't listened to our last episode 115, you're missing out. That was one of our best performing episodes. I don't know if you guys knew that, but we had the chance to chat with Merritt Beeson. That's right, Husker fans, Merritt Beeson of the Atlanta Vibe. Merritt Beeson joins the show to share her volleyball journey, including how she was introduced to the game, her experience through college and the international stage with USA Volleyball, and of course, now in her first pro season with the Atlanta Vibe. Don't miss it. Listen or watch now on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and usavolleyball.org. Sevrin, take it away with the men's college roundup.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been able to do this with you guys, so really happy to do that. I'm keeping the day late theme because I swear there's a match every day this week. And as soon as I put out this roundup, it is going to be old news within a matter of hours. But that still doesn't mean you shouldn't check it out, because there's a lot of movement this week, including in the top 5. So we'll launch right into that. Number 1, still Long Beach, undefeated, looking like juggernauts. Number 2, UCLA. Since I think I last talked to you, they moved up from number 4. UCLA has really come into their own. I think traditionally we've seen them start slow. Was wondering how that was going to look with Coach Hawks, and They've moved right up there. I think they're worthy of that number 2 spot. A couple really good high ranking wins recently. So UCLA number 2. Number 3, Hawaii, where I will pat myself on the back, where I told you at the beginning of the year, they are for real. They are certainly for real. They're up 1 spot and they swept UCI at home. Hawaii is just, I think they look fantastic. I think that arena is the hardest place to play in men's college volleyball right now. And I feel like everybody's traveling over there. I've got the match circled on my calendar when they're coming out here to California against CSUN. I cannot wait for that one. But Hawaii, your new number 3. Then it's UCI, who I love watching them play. It was so great to be over there against USC. They are struggling a little bit. They've dropped 4 matches in a row. The sweep to Hawaii was a little eye-opening. So UCI, we'll get to it in a second, but maybe in trouble, still number 4. And number 5, USC, who I believe has had about a week off now at this point at the time of recording, and will be back in action soon. I think that match is, again, time of recording tomorrow, which I won't get too far into because you'll already know what happened at that match by the time you listen to this. But that is your top 5. Once again, Long Beach, UCLA, Hawaii, UCI, and USC. Your storylines, I just said it, I think Hawaii's for real. Tetrisky, AVCA Player of the Week, again, one of those 2 Bulgarian players. We obviously talk about Moni Nikolov at Long Beach. He's tearing it up in Hawaii, pairing him with Tread Rosenthal as setter. And again, you've got just a dynamic duo, I think, right there between those 2. If you have the ability to watch some Hawaii matches, do it. I feel like there's a highlight reel on Twitter every week or X every week, and it's amazing. UCI, I don't want to get too into the weeds, but I wonder if there's a depth issue there, maybe Stephen and Clarence. I think they have such a great lineup. Those hitters with Flexen and Heno, you know my feelings on Heno. I think he's maybe the best player in all of men's college volleyball. I just worry sometimes if maybe, they need a breather, or if they are in a slump for a little bit, they maybe don't have some of the depth of some of these other teams, but, you could have a completely different opinion and be completely right. UCI has looked good at the beginning, and then now they're struggling a little bit, but they've got about a month until that number 1 matchup with Long Beach, which I know Coach Niffen has circled on the calendar, and he'll get them right for that. Where are we looking towards next? It's going to be Outrigger, which I think is going to be a great test for USC. It's always a really good slate of matches. Outrigger is March 13th through 15th. It's Hawaii, USC, Penn State, and Ball State competing this year. And the other match I have circled on my calendar just to keep an eye on, as I mentioned, Long Beach State and UCI. That is March 28th. So that is your overall view of the men's college roundup. And if you want even more detail, please head over to usavolleyball.org, read my men's college roundup. And again, guys, it's been such a fun season to watch, and we've still got a little ways to go here, more men's college volleyball all throughout the rest of the spring.
Thank you for that, Sevrin. Really exciting. When you said you had that match circled, I thought you were talking about going to Hawaii. I was like, wait.
I would love to. I think that would be amazing. If I could get that travel added to my calendar, I will pop over to Hawaii for even a day. But I have yet to go to Hawaii, so that'd be fantastic. But I don't think that's in my cards. I wait for everybody to come here to California.
Like every now and then, Clarence and I try to speak it into existence of getting the podcast out there. So hopefully we can get all of us out there someday. All right. Yeah. Passing it on over. Let's continue to Clarence for Pro News with Hughes.
And we are headed into week number 9 of both League One Volleyball and Pro Volleyball Federation. Be sure to check out USA Volleyball social media and our calendar at usavolleyball.org each week for schedule updates, starting with LOVB first. LOVB Atlanta is still holding the number 1 spot in the League One Volleyball standing, sitting at 8-1. Over the weekend, LOVB Atlanta secured its 8th win on the season with a 5-set dub over LOVB Omaha. That is right. 3-time Olympian Kelsey Cook had 14 points on 12 kills and 2 blocks, and was credited with 16 digs. Woo, man. Love Madison, while still at the bottom of the rankings, deserved a shout out after defeating Love Omaha and Love Austin over the weekend. 2-time Olympian Annie Drew Schumacher Schumacher with LOVB Madison was earned Player of the Week honors after putting up 40 kills, 4 aces, and 3 blocks in that pair of wins. Wow, she is on fire and on a tear. But Rolling over into some Pro Volleyball Federation updates, some shakeup in the PVF standings, starting with the Orlando Valkyries had a great week great week number 8 of competition, sweeping the former number 1 Omaha Supernovas, then picked up another win against the Atlanta Vibe in 5 sets. A lot of 5-setters over the past weekend, so make sure we're watching both these leagues. The Valkyries are red hot right now, currently on an 8-game win streak. Stopping right there. Sevrin, since you were there at the match, do you have anything to add here? I know you got just the insider perspective there, but since you were on the ground for the Valkyrie Vibe, how was that 5-setter? You want to talk about that one a little bit?
I buried the lead that they were on an 8-game win streak or 8-match win streak, but speaking to Coach Pauly after the match, she really credited her depth. She said, just because you don't see some of our players on the court every night, they're the ones pushing us in practice, and that they really have contributed a lot to their team. I think she said at one point she thought even they were giving. She was a little worried because of how much they were pushing the starters. So I think you could definitely see that in the match. Just the depth that they had, they would put in some subs for serving where they had no problem contributing to both the defensive effort and just keeping that rotation intact. And I think the Valkyrie just looked like a sound unit. I think that's probably a boring assessment, but and I don't mean it that way, because they are super fun to watch, and there's a definite reason why they have this 8-match winning streak now. It's just a sound squad overall.
Appreciate that update there. I mean, like we mentioned, a lot of hot volleyball happening over these past couple weeks too. A lot of 5-setters, a lot of good action, a lot of sound volleyball, as you said, Sevrin, there too. If you guys, again, need a place to look up all the updates, from roundups to schedule updates, everything in between, make sure you go to usavolleyball.org. But we can talk about this. We can catch up all day. I think we have a guest to introduce. Stephen, you want to go ahead and do the honors there?
Yeah, we almost missed this. We were just having such a good time.
Okay, I'm still mad at our guest for certain reasons there, so we can.
We'll get into that later, but that's right. In today's episode, back in December, we had the opportunity to talk to Dan Ames, Great Lakes Region CEO and Commissioner, while at the AVCA Convention in Louisville, Kentucky. Dan shares his background in volleyball and talks about some of the successes he has seen in his region. This and more in our conversation. Let's get to it. Here's Dan Ames. All right, just first off, for our listeners here, we are recording this at the 2024 AVCA Convention, and we're in the middle of sessions going on right now. We got foot traffic around at all the vendors in the hall here, so we're going to hear some background noise. Might be a little loud here and there, but we're going to keep moving along, and it's just part of the whole experience, I think. But wanted to
yelling right now.
Easy distraction.
Right, exactly, yeah. Of course, Stephen Munson, Clarence Hughes here, and Dan Ames from Great Lakes Region. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's an honor, privilege to be in your guys' presence.
Thank you so much, yeah. I don't know if I'd go that far, but here we go. Dan, I mentioned we're at the AVCA Convention here. What is your role at the convention? Are you doing any presentations? Are you just kind of networking, listening in on things? What are you doing here?
I think at this point in my career, it's been a lot of networking, rekindling some of the friendships that may be in the volleyball world. As the coaches know, you see each other, and then you might not see each other for another year.
Right, yeah.
So being able to do this, but this year we actually did a staff outing. We brought our whole staff.
Oh, great.
So it was an opportunity, and to see their excitement on the first day, where I feel like the old man at this point of coming to this thing. But the one thing I told them is, like, I'm not going to hold your hand. I want you guys to go out there, and I want you to find people, if your friends are here, catch up with your friends and let them guide you a little bit. But at the same time, like, blaze your own path. And some of them are doing it, some of them aren't. But it's a volleyball family in our office, so they all get it, they all understand it. A lot of them coach. They coach, they officiate, they do all those things to better the sport, not just work in an office and push papers and things like that. So.
Right. Yeah.
What's the piece of advice you would have for either someone attending this convention for the first time on the official side of things, or if they're on your staff, or on the coaching side? Like, overall, like, what should they know or need to know coming in?
Don't be closed off. I've had enough first year coaches that have come with me, and it's interesting as being the older statesman, you sort of like you want to guide them, you want to show them what you did in your 20s at the same time. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but
Yep.
you know, it's what speed you want it to be. And I think every city, when we go, it's a different experience for all these coaches, for all of us, whatever the roles are. You know, Kansas City, where it'll be next year, it's finding fun is really, really easy in Kansas City. You just walk right down the street.
And barbecue too.
Yes, yes. And here, it's been interesting and it's been fun as well. But like, there's a passion for volleyball here in Louisville that this collegiate program has done.
Definitely.
Their staff about promoting the game, promoting the sport. Those three people, I know it's more than three people on that staff, but those three key figureheads have been amazing for this area to grow the sport. So,
yeah, I mean, speaking of, you know, hometown, I mean, how are you feeling about the Final Four matches? You know?
Yesterday was an amazing day, I think, for volleyball. To see where the sport's going, as you guys being in the national office, hearing it constantly, seeing it, but to think, man, I just truly go back to, well, now I look around and I'm like, I feel like there's so many younger coaches that are here. I got the no, you're old, dude. But at the same time, I think there's more, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see the numbers of how many, you know, 21 to 26-year-old coaches are here now compared to 10 years ago. But they're bettering their knowledge, and I think they're trying with the slate of demos and things like that they put on. You can see an excitement from other people to go there, where I think when it was just the older statesmen and it's just a couple club coaches and a couple club directors, there's not as much passion in it, and it stinks presenting in front of 12 people when you are used to sort of doing the volleyball in front of 12, 15,000 people.
Right.
So, but the sport's getting there, and to be flipping through a channel on a Sunday at 5 o'clock and you're expecting news and volleyball's on TV, I don't know if I ever expected that in my lifetime, honestly. It's something that I think we all work for as commissioners, as, you know, club directors, as college coaches, and so many other different avenues, officials. But to see where this is coming right now, it's a fun ride, and the future is going to be blazed by this younger generation.
Oh yeah,
like you guys.
Thank you. We're talking about the convention here, and there's a variety of coaches from different levels.
Yep.
We got, you know, D1, even pro. You got D3, D2, NAI,
There's international coaches that are here.
International coaches,
Yep.
club coaches too.
High school coaches.
High school coaches. I guess for you, why would you, or how would you pitch to a club coach or a high school coach within your region to come to this convention? What do you think they would get out of it?
I think it's the continuing education, but it's what do you want to get out of volleyball? What do you want out of your volleyball quote unquote career? Because a lot of people, it's a getaway after work, right? 5 o'clock, you go to club. Terrence, you go and coach high school kids. I know you do club as well, but do you coach club?
No, not
Okay.
anymore. Used to.
Okay,
but,
so, right, you did it as well. And for me, I was able to buy like a nicer car because I had that club payment and
There you go.
put in
Yeah.
those couple hours.
Yeah.
But I think it's just come with an open mind, but it's also don't be closed off to the personal interactions. I still remember very early on in my coaching career, on the women's side, sometimes things are a little bit more closed off, and I'm used to on the men's side, like we'll literally tell each other how we beat each other afterwards. But walking past like Hugh McCutcheon, right after he had, I think it was right after he was named the men's head coach, and we just talked, and I was with one of the University of Florida assistants, and we were chatting, and he's like, anytime guys, come into my gym anytime.
That's awesome.
And then you realize, like, closed mouths don't get fed. All you got to do is ask.
Yeah.
And if you want to go to another gym and you want to sort of better yourself, there's no better way. But here you get everybody in that same place. And so you can have that discussion over a Pepsi. You can have that discussion sitting at the Final Four match.
Right. Yeah.
You know, doing that. What would you do? What do you see here? So there's so many different ways, and I love it. Like, it's truly a social overload, I think, for some people at time.
Yeah.
So
A great reunion, I think, too. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, switching a little bit, you know, talking about this whole experience here, and how this convention has developed and grown over the years too. Let's take a little bit of a step back and talk about your introduction to the game of volleyball. Where did you start from? What was that first experience like?
Do you remember the Michael Jordan story when he got cut in high school?
Yep.
I was cut from my 7th grade volleyball team.
Oh, wow.
7th grade.
And it was because I was a jerk. And I was playing, and so after there was a couple injuries on the team, they asked me if I would come onto the team and play, and I did, and I wound up starting after my 3rd day there. And it was just, honestly, I think it just lit my fire from there, and it progressed, where actually I recently reached out to that old gym teacher and that old coach and thanked her because I get to do volleyball now for a living, and I provide for my family, and we're able to travel places and do these things. And literally, if she didn't take this little punk kid and give him an opportunity to fall in love with this sport, I don't know what I would be doing.
Yeah.
So that was so cut from my 7th grade team. And then freshman year, I went back and actually started coaching at the middle school.
Okay.
So went right into coaching pretty much right away early, and I loved it. So at this point, I've gone from the middle school to the high school to my full fulcrum moment is I purchased one of the clubs that I bought was actually my old club. And then when I went to college, I had my college coach come back and coach for the club. This has provided just amazing opportunities and full circle moments. And you realize sometimes your mentors are your friends.
Yeah.
Where you can just be one phone call away, or sometimes you're lucky enough where they're an office away. So, but yeah, my path I think is very different than a lot of people, and especially people that are in my position now. To be a college coach and to do this USA Volleyball position, I'm bald for a reason. I'm gray bearded for a reason, but it's with this sport, and it's been fun to be able to do it. So I could go more thorough into it if you'd like me to with those steps. But
yeah, well, you talk about your path, and you were a college coach. You got into coaching pretty quickly.
Yep.
After, playing. How did you grow into your role as a commissioner? How did you get into that role, and what interested you into getting into that role?
I was a board member, so I was one of our boys reps in the Great Lakes region for probably almost 10 years, and I got on the board in my mid-20s. And I just started building those relationships with some of the elder states people and learned about what it is. And I think it really jumped in 2015 when, as a board member, we were lucky enough to put in a bid to get a national qualifier. And so from that, I was able to just take on different roles and different experiences of court setup. Terrence's favorite, court setup, court tear down.
Too soon.
But to take those roles for now a qualifier that is 152 courts, it's you get to see the different side. But coaching has always been a part of what I do and the enjoyment and my escape in life. And then I've been able to sort of, learn business from it, from going from the club director and negotiating with your vendor that sells you the Adidas and sells you, and then eventually getting into with Adidas and any of the other companies. Then now as a commissioner, negotiate with the city of Chicago. Yeah, that's a way different level, right? And to talk about, hey, we want you to invest into us, into our sport, and have the city be like, yeah, we really want to make that happen. To me, that's an amazing feeling to know that the city of Chicago is behind us at times. So
that's cool.
But just a lot of different steps, and honestly, I think it was finding mentors with every one of those steps, finding those people to learn from the previous regime of Sandy Abinante and Angelo Iasalo. We wouldn't be as a sport without people like that. Yeah. And I can say that those two people specifically, not just our region, but nationally, the impact that they've made, the committees that they've been on, the handbooks they've written, the bylaws they've, revised, those are the architects. And so as I've moved up, I've tried to be as respectful from that as possible. Yeah. But it's a different vision and a different time. So it's trying to educate as you're trying to bring in something new as well.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you experience on a year-to-year basis with, overseeing a region like Great Lakes?
I think the biggest thing is truly like the mediation. The joke we make is there's a sandbox, and even my 6 and 7-year-old kids will throw sand in the sandbox sometimes, and so you want to have an open mind. And the one thing, I'm lucky where I have an amazing right-hand woman in Kim Greenback, and we don't make decisions without each other. We communicate, and it helps keep ourselves in check to make sure that we are making the right decision for the membership, for those junior athletes, that it's truly for the betterment of the sport. And that's when we go to bed at night, and I tell her all the time, it might not always be the best decision and it might get some backlash, but at the same time, if you can put your head down on a pillow and know that you made the right decision, then just stand behind it.
Yeah.
and have conversations and educate people. We can't make everybody happy, but we're really going to do our darndest to try to make sure that we do.
Could you maybe keeping the conversation on your region here, talk a little bit about the basics of your region? How many members you have, events you host, maybe even clubs that are within your region.
So we have 84 clubs within our region. We're just under around that 14,000,
Okay.
Maybe up to 15,000 members. We have clubs from 4 teams all the way up to over 100 teams, and it's amazing to see where that is. Where I think a 20-team club 10 years ago was a big club. Now we probably have 4 clubs that are I'd probably say we have closer to 6 or 7 clubs that are over 50 teams.
Oh wow, yeah.
And I think that they just approach it in this sport as the popularity, not just on the boys' side, the girls' side. To me, I'm a believer that truly during those unfortunate times in 2020, this was an amazingly easy sport to go outside and play with your family. And as you quote unquote stayed in your bubble, you stayed in your backyard and you played with a ball and a net.
Yep.
It was so easy, or you had Amazon deliver it, and I feel like that's where a lot of this growth has come from, was just people saying, hey, we can do this in the backyard. And then how can you take it to that next level? How, kids that maybe didn't play in middle school are now jumping onto those teams and focusing. So a lot of transition from other sports into volleyball, I think, is what I've seen over the last couple years.
Well,
I know we talked to Angel Sims earlier today. She talked a lot about the growth of boys volleyball within the Bayou region. I know Clarence is a boys coach too in Colorado, and I would just love to hear how you've seen the boys side of the game grow within the Great Lakes.
Yeah, and I think when I played in the 90s, so long ago, to say it now.
You're just dating yourself.
I am. There was maybe 4 to 6 clubs, and we literally had kids driving 60 miles, 70 miles to come play for a club.
Wow.
And now, you walk outside and you probably have a club on that corner that's somewhere by you, whether it's volleyball, whether it's basketball. It's something, youth sports has just grown. But I think in Great Lakes, it was people saw the opportunity to grow it, but also keep in mind it's a business, but it's also do what's right for the kids. And I think for a while it's been a business in the Great Lakes region a little bit earlier than some of the other clubs, and a lot of people are catching up. So like when we have our commissioner meetings, I'm like, my problems are way different than everybody else's problems. But I know that Badger Region's problems are different than mine. Northern Cal, Southern Cal, I can go on to the other 40 regions. Everybody's got different problems. And a friend of mine said, if you threw it all in a pile, would you still take your problems back out? And the answer is yes, is because you know what your problems are probably going to be, and at least you can come up with some tactics and ways to tackle them.
Right.
So every one of these commissioners, maybe we don't see eye to eye, maybe we are the best of friends, I think everybody truly is doing it for the right reasons, and to see the fruits of their labor, of this growth, I think it's like the main topic that everybody talks about here is how do we take advantage of the opportunities that are coming to promote this sport, these professional leagues. Again, you're flipping through a channel and on NBC you got Big Ten volleyball. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
And for us, probably, I don't know the exact stat, but 25% maybe of those athletes maybe are from the Great Lakes region. So it's cool. Now that the Big Ten's not really the Big Ten anymore, they're coming from all over the place. But we're proud to see those young athletes that are part of the U21 team, the U19 team, but that are participating in this event. To see last night with Penn State, I'm gonna butcher her last name, but Ava Fataldo. That young lady, my experience with her during the All-Star Championships, amazing. Just such a good young woman, and to see that, all right, she wasn't just good enough to perform and be amazing in Great Lakes, like she's on the national scale.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt she'll be stealing that libero job next year at Penn State. But yeah, it's you become a proud papa. But as a coach, as a club director, it's those same things with state titles. It's the same thing with those club championships, whether it's Open, Club, USA, whatever division it might be. You found a way to be the best at it, and so so enjoying the ride, man. This is and this weekend's really fun. Yeah. Especially with all the Big Ten participation that's here.
Yes.
I mean, you touched on a little bit of the growth about boys volleyball, from when you started to now and what that's been like. Did a little bit of that touched on a little bit of that with on the girls side of things and your experience, with some athletes who are on the national, playing right now on national television on in the tournament on D1 level. But what do you think are some of those driving factors for the growth of volleyball as a whole?
I think more kids are playing, but more kids are spreading out. They're taking their talents sort of all over the place. I think sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. It just comes back to like this convention is where's the hunger for educating? And I know that that's one of the things that we're really trying to put on ourselves is how do we educate these coaches? How do we, and so like we've thrown out ideas of bunching the clubs together and, 2 medium clubs go together and tell me what college coach you want us to fly out and to put on a clinic for your kids and to be able to pass along some of that education to those coaches where they do like an hour crash course of, hey, this is what we do, this is how we do it, but here's how we adjust depending on the team, depending on the talent I have, depending on the skill set that these players have. And so we really, I think we're one of the first clubs that we've got a primary education person that is going to go out and educate coaches on how to use the USA Education platform. So taking advantage of all those opportunities, but to be able, and again, it's bettering the sport. So, but that I think is one of the biggest ones that the club directors of feedback giving back to us is how can you help us educate our coaches? So that's a focus we have as we're moving forward. I think USA's definitely gotten on the right direction now with their education platform, but there's other good ones that are out there. And in our region, we give people the option. Do you want the USA one and do you want the Art of Coaching one? Honestly, if they ask for both, we'd give them both. Don't tell anybody, but we don't want to limit anyone's education opportunities.
Yeah.
So
you may have already touched on it, but what are some of the successes that you've seen within the Great Lakes region?
I think the growth of the participation.
Yeah.
It's not even just membership, but you're also like we have a 625 team power league that we run to try to it supports whether it's a big club, a small club, a medium club. It supports you and it gives you a certain amount of dates for your athletes that are structured and going to be there, and those pretty early on. But then the level of competition, you get to choose the level of competition, and we try to make sure that when they're grouped and they get in out of their seeding dates into their play dates, you're with teams that you're supposed to be with.
Yeah.
Because it's not good or fun for anyone to lose 25-10 or 25-12. But if we can find that level and pair them up, you're gonna get better by facing that type of competition, week in and week out. Other successes, I think it's the opportunity to be open, and to get out there and to meet our club directors so they know. Like we did a social for our officials and for our girls club directors the other day at Topgolf. Because we want them to know who our staff is. We want them to know balls flying everywhere.
Yeah. They're starting the
Volleyballs
demos
out
on
here,
on the demo court here.
Keep it in the court.
But we just want to make sure that they know, like, put a face with a voice. To be able to build that rapport of like, no, my job is to try to make you happy, but my job is to try to help you and to make your job easier. So I think some of those things with the communication, the interactions, we're lucky enough where we have a national qualifier, and that at this point is maxed out to the absolute brim. Those are just some of the ones that we've enjoyed, but I think launching, that education platform, to be able to get somebody to be able to go out there and truly teach somebody how to use a platform the correct way is, your knowledge is unlimited. It's up to you how much you want to actually get out of it and go from it. So I could probably sit here and add on a bunch more, but I don't need to be as long-winded as I usually am, and probably that you've seen already.
Oh, no, thank you. This is all.
Thanks for the side eye right there, Terry.
I'm keeping an eye out for volleyballs out here. That's
Clarence, behave. Come on.
I keep saying Terrence, dude, I apologize.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that later, but it's okay.
I said.
Before we jump into your coaching background, how you got introduced to that, why should a parent or a parent of a young athlete or young athlete consider getting involved with your region?
I think it is the knowledge base. I truly believe that the education that our coaches are able to give to these young athletes are it's top notch. I say that about our officials as well, and it's not knocking anyone else. It's just the bar that we want to be at. We want to be those leaders. I had a good answer for you when you sent me this question earlier, and I totally just escaped from it.
All good.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one.
Yeah.
We'll circle back.
We
to
can
this.
circle
Okay.
back if it hits you. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. My apologies.
No worries.
Yeah. I guess if there's a parent or a young athlete who's listening right now who wants to get into volleyball, whether that is just trying out for the first time, they're trying to find a sport they want to get into, or if they want to, try a different sport, they want to get volleyball a shot. How should they, or how can they reach out to the Great Lake regions to find a club near them?
So for us on our website, we're lucky enough where we have a marketing manager that's in-house to always do daily updates on our website, to always be doing that with social media. So if you go to greatlakesvolleyball.org, that will have all your step-by-steps. I mean, every day I want to say I probably get at least 2 to 3 I want to be an official. And so that awesome. I love seeing, and that means that our current officials are going out there and promoting it and pushing it to the appropriate people to be able to grow it. So if you go to that website, it's not emailing the commissioner, it's not emailing the membership person. It's truly going on the website and following step by step the holding of the hand of how to get a membership, but how to find a club that maybe might still be looking for athletes, to find the clubs that are located within your geographic area. So all that is available on the website. And we try to make it as easy and smooth for you as possible. But if it doesn't work, everybody's one email away and one phone call away that we can answer those questions for you and guide you. So, but there are, with having those 84 clubs in the region, there are plenty of opportunities for those young kids to be able to find the place that's right for them.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's time to dive into coaching while we still let you circle back and think about that other answer. But in addition to running Great Lakes, you were the 2017 AVCA, Division III Men's Volleyball Coach of the Year. You've also been the head coach at Aurora University since 2019? Is that correct?
Yep.
What got you into coaching? Like, what was that for you?
It was in that middle school, man, when you got that opportunity and you sort of learned that lesson. But I think the passion for it was also, I knew the experience that I wanted to have when I was younger. In my background was like restaurant management and things like that. And as I worked my way up, I became like a supervisor of my best friends. I became a manager of my roommates, you know, and you sort of learn how to handle, you know, different people. And then I was still coaching club as I got to 17, 18 years old. And I saw the correlation between both of when you're a server and when you're working as a team, but how do you become that head trainer? How do you become those next step? And so within volleyball, I think I just took a ton of the things that I learned in like restaurant management and people interactions, sales, things like that, to hear. Can I see the question here? Say the question one more time. I detoured
What got
myself.
you into coaching?
Thank you.
Yeah.
There we go. But I think I do it a little bit differently, like at the college level.
Yeah.
I always tell the kids when we're recruiting them, like volleyball is icing on the cake. That's what you want to do. But when you're going to come here, we want you to learn how to be a better student. We want to teach you how to be a better brother, a better husband, a better coworker, a better manager. That when you leave here, you've come from a safe place where you've failed at points, but you've realized it's okay to fail so you don't make that mistake and it costs you a job. You get a ticket if you're doing something stupid, you know, whatever it might be. And to have that, be able to have that impact on any type of youth, where it started, you know, with teams of 10, and then, you know, you get on to bigger teams in the high school where they take 16 to 18 kids, but you realize the impact you make. And is everyone going to love you? They will not, because your style is not for everybody. But we really focus on the off the court stuff, and that's the part that I love, because I know that my way is not the only way, and there's other ways to do it. But I love being able to show a younger athlete that they can teach me still. Like I'll go back to when I started the Dominican program out in Chicago. I'm going to give him a shout out here, but Aiden Spangler was the hardest kid I've ever coached in my life, because he was a kid that would get straight A's, but if he didn't like that teacher, he'd get an F, because he just didn't. That was Aiden, his way. He needed to be comfortable. And he was a kid that started and then eventually lost his starting spot, but was like that first guy off the bench. And by the end, like I brought my captains in and I'm like, this kid just doesn't care. And they're like, wrong, coach, he does care. He just doesn't show it the way you want him to show it. And I'm like, okay. And by the end, they said, you don't worry about him. You coach us. We got him. Because he was living with 4 of them in a house. And they're like, no, he's amazing. He's awesome. And then my wife and I had a business, and one of the first people I reached out to see if he was interested in coming and working for me was Aiden Spangler. Because he had the work ethic. If it was something he enjoyed, I knew that kid was going to give 100%. When he was a freshman and sophomore, could I handle it? It was really, really hard. But those type of situations, if you're open to it and see also how you might be failing at doing what you need to do for those kids. So that's helped. And I've really enjoyed being able to teach that, because if you witness it, those people go out and they can spread that out to other people. I always hate the stories of hearing from athletes that they hate volleyball and it's because of so-and-so. Like, our job is to grow the love for the sport. And so that is something that I promise, and I always tell our kids, like, closed mouths don't get fed. If you want to know something or you want to share something, all you got to do is say it. I might not like it, so we're going to have a discussion about it, but it's because I want to know the why. And when I'm coaching, I end every drill or anything we're doing with saying, do we understand? Because I need to know whether you understand. And if one person doesn't, there's probably a few more that don't, right? And if we can teach that to a couple more kids and a couple more young men, that as they're getting out to the real world, to be those teachers, to be those club coaches, like that's the stuff I love. Yeah. That truly why I do what I do.
I love what you kind of talked about there. I think it's just part of your philosophy, but just growing the love of the sport.
Yes.
for your athletes. I guess could you talk a little bit about that, and for any listeners who might be struggling with that on their, within their own programs, how can they help cultivate that culture and just help grow the athletes' love for the sport and keep them in it?
I think listen, because they're communicating to you some way. Yeah. It might be through their eyes being pouty. It might be through their, I used to be told that I had awful facial expressions, when I would respond to something that like a coach would say to me. And I've really tried to keep that in mind and like never get angry for a kid about it, but I communicate when I see it. Say, I'm not going to get angry about this, but
You got to confront it.
but I want you to know not everybody's going to be open-minded to that, because you might be in a job and you might be looking in the stink face to your boss. Exactly, right? And so just teaching those lessons, and that's, I think it's why I grind for those 4 months of January through April with my college season and this event season for club volleyball on the women's side, is because we're making impacts, and we're able to do it. Like I tell our staff, because we're lucky enough where we have Molten as a sponsor as well, I said, you see a kid and he doesn't have a ball in his hand, I want the first touch in that kid's hand. Or if it's a little baby, I want those white little bouncy balls. But your job is to put a smile on 5 kids' faces today. And then tomorrow I want you to find another 5 and continue to walk around. But to get that thank you from a parent that's trying to keep their kid cradled at a tournament, and all you did was give them a ball. But they're going to remember that.
Yeah.
So, I'm all about the feelers. That's the stuff, because it's what's going to... Someone the other day heard me saying that to our staff, because we brought a duffel bag of stuff to give out, which we will drop off for you guys. We specifically have some Great Lakes region stuff to drop off for you guys. That just find somebody to make them smile. And someone said, is that like what you guys do? We try to.
Yeah. I love that.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, staying on the men's game, staying on boys volleyball
Yes.
as well, too. What has been like the key growth factor in the continuation and the spread of volleyball on both aspects?
You know, I have this debate with a couple friends all the time, and some say it's, like kids are leaving football and going to other sports. And I think even the same thing could be said about basketball, because it's pretty physical when you get to the upper level. I mean, this is different where there's a ball coming at your head, but it's a different type of physicality. And it's still there, because I lost 2 players for 2 months this year from concussions, from balls hitting them in the face. So it's been the impact from other sports has been the prime argument. And I think for me, it's been the exposure. Like I know on the college side, women's teams are typically a little bit more successful when they have a men's program. And obviously it said vice versa, because there's always a women's volleyball program. But I think that some of the little brothers are paying more attention to it. And as they're getting up, they're getting some friends involved in it. And they're passing that knowledge along to be able to say, hey, there's this sport that literally we can play outside. We can play in the beach. We can play in a pool. Like, you can do something. And then when you become older, you go and you join bar leagues. You go to adult leagues, you do. But I'm still amazed, like at adult nationals, some of the men from our region are there every year, the 50s, the 60s division.
70s,
right?
Like, after, too.
They do. Mm-hmm. And it amazes me. And to see that some of the 70s play with the 50s and so on and so forth. So I just think it's that, where everyone says like it's the word of mouth. You get 10 people it's going to affect. And I think that is truly what it's just been, where it was just time. When I was growing up, as I'm a little bit older than you guys, like soccer was going through that. And I remember that was the sport that I played for 12 years before I played volleyball. And now I see volleyball sort of doing the same exact thing that what soccer went through like in the 90s.
Yeah, when I was coaching, I coached a 14U boys team, and you could tell which boys had older sisters who were playing, and they had the skill too. They had the technique. It was dialed in already at that young age too, and had 12-year-olds playing up because there was not enough teams to have 12 teams. So it was cool to see, and you could see the joy that they had on their faces when they found other boys that played volleyball, and that was a really cool feeling.
It is. So like my wife had never really watched volleyball until we started dating, and now she's like the number one proponent where she's like, no, you don't know, you've never seen it. And they're like, well, we watched it in the Olympics. She's like, I know, but like, just imagine, like, there's different levels, no different than like baseball and even minor football and things like that.
And
so
watching it in person versus TV too is even
you
different
feel
too. Yeah,
this is a sport you can feel.
exactly. Yeah. Kind of a fun question for you, and you might, put your region commissioner hat on, you might put your coach hat on for this, but if you could change one rule in volleyball,
I got a list.
What would that be? Just like pulls it out of your back pocket.
So I'm lucky enough where I'm on the NCAA committee for Division III men's volleyball, and so we got to pick some of that.
Oh, okay.
So last year,
Sweet.
we went along with Division I men's, and we eliminated the ball handling call, the second, the two contact.
Yeah.
So I would say probably for every coach, that's probably somewhere on their list.
Yeah.
And now it's really happening.
It
was pretty interesting. Like with that one, it was just uniformity. Like the women did it first, then D1 men did it, and then we're doing it now as well on the D3 side. So uniformity across the board. But other than that, there's people above my pay grade that make those decisions about those rules. So, I thought about that one, and I kept literally sticking to the second contact, because how much does everybody go to? They're always raising their hand, because you don't want the lift to disappear.
Right. Yeah. And it slowed the game down too a lot when that was being called so much too.
So here's one that I want to ask you guys
Yeah.
with that, and it goes down to the rule. If somebody is athletic enough, because you can get called for the over on a block on a third if you touch the ball before an attacker, but should you? If you're athletic enough and you jump high enough and you've earned that touch without touching the net, should you be called for that? This is like a men's specific question,
that
right?
honestly happened, like, to me in adult league.
Yeah.
They were like, we're doing a new double rules, and I went up for a ball, and technically I beat him too, and it's hard. So, I mean, obviously in that competitive setting, I'm going to say I earned that. I beat you to the ball.
Right.
But also, the reality of it, do you have to kind of level the playing field there? But if you earned it, right? So it's hard. It's a tough one.
That takes away the athleticism of the individual athlete too, right? So I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Because that's something like I tell my guys, go grab the ball.
Yeah, go after it.
Like go get it.
Yeah.
And if you get it before them, I'm willing to take that penalty.
Yep.
But am I?
Kind of like to try to teach me on the girl side. I always say, like, I don't care how tight that ball is in that. You get two hands on that. I can argue that. I can't argue, especially if you're in the back row. I can't argue this.
Yes.
I can argue two hands to the day I die, I guess. But
yes,
if
those
you
things
don't
will
have
stick
that
with
effort, I need two hands on the ball. So kind of very similar to that too. But that's a hard one.
Yep.
I just have to let the higher ups who get paid to make those decisions.
That's
do
what.
that one.
But I will say, as a coach, to be on that committee, and I even said to our NCAA rep, like, we really have all this power to make this decision, and he's like, that's why you were picked for this spot.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to be able to say we just want to be like everybody else and go with the same exact rule.
I think that's good for the sport too, the uniformity of it.
Yes.
Just across the board, across disciplines, across the genders of each sport too. I think that only just helps strengthen the sport and less confusing for the ones getting into it. I think.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Before we
I
let you go
appreciate it.
here,
I think it's time to circle back on.
Go ahead. What do you got for me? Go ahead.
No. Before we let you go, just anything that we kind of left on the table here that you'd like to talk about, or anything you'd like to share about your region that we didn't talk about already.
If there are people from Great Lakes, honestly, from everywhere else, if they're breaking it down above us.
This might be the perfect timing here.
Yes.
With the music here, but
Coach's party is starting.
yes.
We are open-minded to ideas and open-minded to anything that you might have, where nothing is a bad idea. And we truly, our goal is to be trailblazers and to be the leaders but there are so many amazing regions that are out there that we copy from. It's flattering where we want to be copied. And so throw it at us. We're open, and let's make this game the best game in the world.
I love that. Yeah, let's do that. That's a great. I feel like it's a great slogan.
Yeah,
that needs to be out there on a T-shirt somewhere. I think. Yeah.
I'm sure it is. It's probably from another sport. I have no doubt.
Well, Dan, thank you so much again, and I'm sure we'll have many more chats down the road as well.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you guys doing what you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, sir.
shout out to Dan for taking the time out of his weekend at the AVCA Convention to chat with us. I know region commissioners are always busy around that time trying to, he's both the commissioner and coach too, so trying to absorb all the knowledge that he possibly can and also represent his region the right way. I will also give you half of a pass. You just get half of a pass for getting my name wrong. I should have corrected you and made a joke out of it on during the interview too. But I was thinking, did he really just call me Terrence? I'm hearing things. A couple minutes go by, says it again. Nope, he definitely called me Terrence. But anyways,
I was like trying to like emphasize. I was like Clarence, or like Clarence, you're also a coach. Like, what do you think about that?
Oh man, what else?
He wasn't picking up on it. He wasn't picking up.
He didn't pick it up on it until it was on too. But anyways, all jokes aside, really enjoyed our conversation, and we look forward to seeing you again down the road soon, which will actually be at the Winnie City Qualifier.
Nice.
During the third week of April for me, so I'll be seeing you over there, giving you a ton of crap for it in person for calling me Kid Terrence. I hope my credential, because I'll be helping them work the event, doesn't say Terrence. If it does, I lose my mind. But other than that, all jokes aside, though, Dan, he was feeling very, very remorseful. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I called you Terrence. I'm so sorry." And we couldn't go back, so the interview is going to be an interview. But again, Dan, always good to have you on the podcast. It was great seeing you. All is forgiven, and I can't wait to see you at the Winnie City Qualifier.
I'm jealous you're going there because there's like an Italian beef place like right down the road from the convention center. It's so good.
What's it called? Because I will go there on your behalf. And
I'll have to look that up off recording here. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's like a block away. It's very close, very small.
Perfect.
Very small shop too. But man, I probably had that once a day at least while I was there. Well, I was fresh off. I was fresh off watching The Bear too, so I was like, "This is perfect." Italian beef sandwiches is so good.
Yeah, like once a day. How many days are you in Chicago?
Too long.
Oh.
All right, let's move things on. Thanks, Terrence. Let's go to the upcoming events. The Mid-East Girls National Qualifier, Weekend 1, March 7th through the 9th in St. Louis. Weekend 2, March 14th through the 16th, again back in St. Louis. The Northeast Girls and Girls 18s National Qualifier, Weekend 1, March 14th through the 16th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Sierra Girls 18s National Qualifier, March 14th through the 16th in Sacramento. And for those attending that event, the men's sitting team will be hosting exhibition matches against Germany during that event. So continuing our streak of our sitting national teams being at some of the qualifiers around the nation. Definitely, if you're there in Sacramento, go check that out. Sitting volleyball is amazing to watch, and the men's sitting team even more so. They're a lot of fun. So check out those matches in between your matches and stick around to say hi and meet the athletes afterwards too. The Music City Girls 18s National Qualifier, March 15th through the 17th in New Orleans, Louisiana. The SCVA Red Rock Rave Girls and Girls 18s National Qualifier, Weekend 1, March 15th through the 17th in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the USA Volleyball Beach Tour, Lone Star Austin Beach National Qualifier, March 15th through the 16th in Cedar Park, Texas. Good luck to all those competing in those events, and for all upcoming events, how to register, visit our website at usavolleyball.org.
Back to Terrence here, apparently. But as always, if there's a topic you want us to talk about or a guest you want featured on this show here, or whether it's a national team athlete, club coach, junior athlete, official, anyone on sport, or anyone in between, we would love to hear about it. You could email us at the USAV show at usav.org. And let us know who you'd like to, have featured, and also let us know how much you're loving the show. And a reminder, new episodes drop every other week, usually every other Wednesday with this one off. But until then, thank you all for listening to yet another episode of the USA Volleyball Show. We are the official podcast of USA Volleyball.
This has been the USA Volleyball Show with Clarence Hughes and Stephen Munson. Produced by Curtis Ward. Our content producer is Laura Fawcett. Our marketing lead is Bree Jaycox. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to rate and review. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the USA Volleyball Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.